Hello, good morning, good afternoon to those who are attending the webinar today. I'm just giving it a minute until the participant numbers settle down and we make sure that everybody is attending. So I will just give it a moment, but welcome to the webinar.
So Danielle, you already have your first question about recording of the webinar.
Yes, thank you, Titan. So it looks like the numbers are starting to slow down a bit. So welcome everyone to the webinar. Yes, today's webinar will be recorded and the slides will be made available on the website. Because it is Friday afternoon here on the East Coast, please expect the webinar and the slides to be posted sometime early next week. But that will happen as soon as possible. They will be available over the website, and there still seems to be people coming in a little bit, so I'll hold off before we get started.
I think it's kind of
Kind of
stabilized.
trickling. Okay. Okay, thank you, Chiton, for that gut check. Okay. So hi, my name is Danielle Sumi. I am a program director within the Technology Innovation and Partnerships Directorate. And I am so pleased to be able to talk today about the responsible design, development, and deployment of technologies, or ReDDoT. Again, the webinar will be recorded and the slides will be made available. And I really want to thank the team that's here today. They'll be answering your questions in the Q&A box. So please, if you have any questions as the webinar unfolds, please type them in the Q&A box so that one of the other program directors that are available on this call today can answer your question as they come in. So again, this has been really an incredible team effort, and I look forward to doting on the team and how thankful and gracious all of them have been through the development of this new program in its inaugural year. So to give a quick outline about where we're headed today, I'll first talk a little bit about NSF, the directorates, and then talk about the new directorate, the Technology Innovation and Partnerships. Then I'll give a little bit of background about how ReDDoT came about. Then I'll talk directly about the ReDDoT program, the proposal types, and other related information that's pertinent to putting together a proposal. Then I'll talk about preparing to create a proposal and the review process. And then I'll finish up with just some suggested resources. To break up the slides today a little bit too, and also to hear a little bit from you, we have 2 live polls that will be coming up on slides 18 and 25. So if you want to follow along with me, the slide numbers are in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. So again, live polls are coming up on slides 18 and 25. So NSF has been investing in fundamental research in all fields of science and engineering, delivering both foundational and use-inspired outcomes for over 7 decades. For example, NSF is the largest non-defense funder of artificial intelligence research, which is also part of ReDDoT, has funded more than 240 Nobel Prize winners, and has directly contributed to seminal advances like 3D printing barcodes, the internet, and the first images of a black hole in the Milky Way. And spending a little bit of time on this slide, ReDDoT is a collaboration between the biological sciences, the Computer and Information Science and Engineering Directorate, Geosciences, STEM Education, and the Social, Behavioral, and Economic Science Directorates. And the Directorate for the Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships is really trying to be this new horizontal to strengthen and scale use-inspired and translational research. Just a bit about the U.S. National Science Foundation. We are an independent federal agency that was established in 1950 by Congress to promote the progress of science, advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, and secure the national defense. And for the fiscal year in 2023, the enacted budget was $9.8 billion. The National Science Foundation receives more than 43,000 proposals per year for research, education, and training projects, and more than 13,000 applications for fellowships. Moving to the TIP Directorate, again, the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, we are seizing a generational opportunity to focus on the pivotal challenges that we are facing in the United States. We want to enhance the fundamental research that powers future technologies and solutions. We also want to tap into the full breadth of the nation's demography and geography, and we want to shape the nation's competitiveness, as well as infuse diverse thinking and expertise in the development of new technologies and solutions. And so TIP addresses a critical need to advance the geography of innovation, engage communities through the country that have long been unserved or underserved in the nation's research and innovation enterprise. And we do this through three main areas. We really want to be cross-cutting and integrate with NSF's existing directorates and foster partnerships through government, industry, nonprofits, civil society, and communities of practice. So the first pillar is the technology translation and development. We want to support researchers, startups, and entrepreneurs to create technologies and innovations that have impact. We also want to create diverse innovation ecosystems that nurture regional and national innovation and technology ecosystems that support researchers and innovators. And lastly, we want to support the people from all demographics and geographies to make sure that they have the training and expertise for the jobs of the future. And TIP is all about bridging the gap between the lab to society or to the market. So using the foundational research that has long been part of the National Science Foundation and bridging that through national and societal impacts and through commercialization of products. So we really want to bridge this gap between lab to market. Moving to talking directly about ReDDDoT, you can find the home link for our program website. And again, this webinar is recorded. It will be available on the program website. And you can find everything there, including these slides. So we also, beyond just the partnerships that we have internally with the National Science Foundation, we also have partnered with 5 different external philanthropic partners. And this collaboration has been through these 6 directorates within the National Science Foundation, as well as the Siegel Family Endowment, the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, the Ford Foundation, Pivotal Ventures, and the Eric and Wendy Schmidt Fund for Strategic Innovation. And I really want to thank Elizabeth Grossman from the Ford Foundation, who has been very strategic in helping develop these partnerships between NSF and these 5 foundations. So the program scope of ReDDDoT really is about focusing on multidisciplinary and multi-sector teams. We want proposals that examine and demonstrate translational principles, methodologies, implementations, and impacts that are associated with the ReDDoT principles. A key goal of the program is to support and strengthen collaborations across various sectors, and that can be academics, industry, government, nonprofits, and even for-profits in this program. Also, a key goal of the program is to ensure ethical, legal, and societal considerations and community values that are embedded across technology life cycles. We want to make sure that these promote the public's well-being and mitigate harm. So the Technology Innovation and Partnerships Directorate came out of the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022. And as part of CHIPS and Science, we have specific activities that we need to be engaged in. These here are these two sections within the CHIPS and Science Act. And I'll just highlight that, which is in red, that we're really focused on the ethical, legal, and societal considerations. And we really want to take these into account for emerging technology areas that are the focus of ReDDDoT. We also want to develop mutually beneficial research and technology development partnerships. So again, these multidisciplinary and multi-sector relationships and partnerships are paramount to ReDDDoT. The program objectives of ReDDDoT are to stimulate activity and fill gaps in research, innovation, and capacity building. We also want to make sure that through this program, we are creating broad and inclusive communities of interest that bring together key stakeholders to inform better practices. We also want to make sure that we're educating and training the STEM workforce wherever that we can. We also want to accelerate pathways to societal and economic benefits and develop strategies to avoid or mitigate societal and economic harms. And finally, empower communities, including those that have been historically economically disadvantaged and marginalized. And we want them to be able to participate in all stages of the technology development, including ideation and design. So these are just examples of the ReDDDoT program values, but a technology's life cycle, through a technology life cycle, we want to provide opportunities for meaningful stakeholder engagement that inform what we see as ReDDDoT, the responsible design, development, and deployment of technologies. And while an array of values could shape and be considered through a technology development, these are some that we highlight: accountability, equity, inclusion, sustainability, transparency, accessibility, safety, fairness, sensitivity to culture and context, privacy, and security. And so again, these are just among other values that could shape ReDDDoT. As an example of types of activities that we're looking for as part of this program, they include research, implementation, methodologies and tools, and infrastructure. So as part of a research activity, you could study the impacts of current or new ReDDOT paradigms. Through implementation, you could look at interdisciplinary multi-sector collaborations that demonstrate and strengthen ReDDOT approaches around a specific technology or application. For methodologies and tools, you could develop or assess methodologies and tools that enable ReDDOT approaches. And lastly, in infrastructure, you could support collaborations and educational programs that are necessary to sustain ReDDOT approaches. And also part of this program, we will consider projects that are exploratory in nature, as well as projects that build on and expand efforts that are already underway. Out of CHIPS and Science Act, there were 5 key challenge areas that were demonstrated as national, societal, and geostrategic challenges. And these include national security, manufacturing and industrial productivity, workforce development and skills gaps, climate change and environmental sustainability, and inequitable access to education opportunity or other services. While a workshop as part of ReDDOT could be on any one of these key challenge areas, as part of the other 3 types of proposals that I'll talk about in a minute, we also have a focus on climate change and environmental sustainability. There are also 10 key technology areas that were identified from the CHIPS and Science Act. These include artificial intelligence, advanced computing, quantum information, robotics, disaster prevention and mitigation, advanced communications, biotechnology, cyber infrastructure and cybersecurity, advanced energy and industrial and efficiency technologies, and advanced materials. Again, while a workshop proposal submitted to ReDDDoT could focus on any one of these 10 key technology areas, the other 3 types of proposals need to focus on artificial intelligence, disaster prevention and mitigation, or biotechnology. And just to reiterate, the priority areas for the planning grant, Translational Research Coordination Network, and the Phase 2 project proposals should focus on one or more of the 3 main technology areas as identified in the CHIPS and Science Act that are artificial intelligence, biotechnology, or natural and anthropogenic disaster prevention or mitigation, as well as part of CHIPS and Science Act, climate change and environmental sustainability as it pertains to AI, biotechnology, or disasters. Also, projects that cover multiple of these priority areas or include other areas in addition to one or more of these priority areas is also welcome. And workshop proposals can focus on any one of these key technology areas or on any national, societal, or geostrategic challenges as identified in the CHIPS and Science Act. Okay, so as promised in slide 18, we're up on our first live poll about what tech area are you planning to submit to? Artificial intelligence, biotechnology, disaster prevention or mitigation, climate change and environmental sustainability, as it relates to AI, biotech, or disasters, a mix or one or more of these emerging tech areas, or another emerging tech or challenge area. Basically, you're looking to do a workshop proposal. So, Hamad, do we have that live poll up?
Yes, we have it live.
Great, thank you. Heidi, am I doing okay? Okay. Thank you, Heidi, for your ASL interpretation today. So we'll just give everybody a minute. And then Hamad, do I end the poll or do you?
I can end it.
Okay. Okay, I think.
You want me to end it now?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so it seems that from the poll, around 50% are looking to submit for artificial intelligence, about 10% on biotechnology, 12 on disaster prevention or mitigation, 22% as it relates to climate change and environmental sustainability, and 27% seem like they're going to submit to a workshop proposal. So that sounds great. Okay. So there are 2 phases of ReDDDoT. The first phase is for the planning grants, the Translational Research Coordination Networks, or the workshop proposals. And that deadline for all 3 types of proposals is April 8th. And then there are phase 2 project proposals where there's the deadline of April 22nd. Now, this is the inaugural year of ReDDDoT. It's a brand new program. And one of the questions I've been receiving lately is, do you need to have phase 1 funding before applying to phase 2? And the answer is no. You can apply directly for a phase 2 proposal. And I'll talk about each one of those proposal types in the next few slides. So phase one workshop proposals are up to $75,000 each, and they're for a duration of no more than 1 year. They may focus on any of the key technology areas, so any one of those key emerging tech areas, or any one of the 5 national, societal, and geostrategic challenges. Workshops should aim to raise awareness and identify approaches and the needs relevant to ReDDDoT in one or more of these technology or challenge areas, explore and refine opportunities for future projects, and facilitate building of relationships and trust to enable substantive, transdisciplinary, and multi-sector collaborations. And again, that deadline is April 8th. The planning grant proposals are up to $300,000 and should have a duration of no more than 2 years. The purpose of a planning grant proposal should facilitate collaborative, transdisciplinary, and multi-sector activities in the anticipation of a submission of a larger proposal to the program in the future. Also, planning grant proposals may engage in activities to help identify stakeholders and build necessary relationships, identify research gaps, questions and hypotheses, and/or describe potential approaches to solutions. The activities involved in a planning grant may include, but are not limited to, travel, workshop organization, stakeholder meetings, data collection, preliminary experiments, and pilot studies. Within research.gov, there is a planning grant type, and we are asking people instead of that type to submit to the research proposal type, because that allows you up to a 15-page program project description for your planning grant proposals. So again, if you are planning to submit a planning grant, please select that research proposal type. So the research.gov system will allow you to submit up to 15 pages of project description. Again, the deadline for planning grants is on April 8th. Also part of phase one are these translational research coordination networks that are up to $500,000 for 3 to 4 years. What's key to note here is that a single organization must serve as the submitting organization and that the other organizations are involved as subawards. This should promote the use-inspired translational research activities and help to initiate a community of practice that is relevant to one or more of the FY 2024 priority areas. Again, that's artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and disaster prevention or mitigation. The translational research coordination networks should aim to jumpstart new community activity across multiple disciplines and sectors, and should not propose funding for ongoing operation of existing networks or established collaborations. And this is also due April 8th. Finally, phase two project proposals are between $750,000 to $1.5 million with a performance period of 3 years. And this is intended for projects with an established track record in the priority areas, with teams that have experience in use-inspired and translational activities in ReDDDoT approaches. The projects can cover multiple priority areas and/or include other areas in addition to these priority areas. And that deadline is April 22nd. Also within the phase two project proposals, a proposal must include a collaboration plan, which will be up from 1 to 3 pages that is submitted as a supplementary document. And the plan should aim to describe the structure of the collaborative activities in the project and how the activities will be nurtured, monitored, and sustained for the overall benefit of the project. Okay, and here we are on slide 25, which is our next live poll, where we would like to know which type of proposal that you would plan to submit. A workshop, a planning grant, a translational research coordination network, or project proposals. So Maud, if we're ready with the next poll, great, thank you. Thank you all for the participation in these polls. It's good to see. It's helpful for us to be able to plan ourselves. So this is good. Okay, Hamad, I think we can stop the poll. We have 73% in, which is great. Perfect. And it looks like 28% are planning to submit for phase 1 workshops. 53% are looking to submit for phase 1 planning grants. 21% for phase 1 translational research coordination networks, and 39% for phase 2 project proposals. That's great. Okay. All right. So moving on to the types of organizations that can apply. Institutions of higher education can apply. So that includes 2- and 4-year institutions of higher education, including community colleges that are accredited in the United States. Also, for-profit organizations are eligible to apply. This includes US-based commercial organizations, including small businesses, with strong capabilities in scientific or engineering research or education and a passion for innovation. Nonprofit and non-academic organizations, including independent museums, observatories, research labs, professional societies, community organizations, and similar organizations that are located in the United States. Also, state, local, and tribal governments that are limited to agencies, offices, divisions, or other units that are specifically dedicated to innovation, economic, and/or workforce development approaches. And lastly, but certainly not least, tribal nations, which is identified as an American Indian or Alaska Native tribe, band, nation, pueblo, village, or community that is recognized by the Secretary of Interior. Also within ReDDoT, we are looking for project team leadership and professional relationships that come from academic institutions, community organizations, or other nonprofits, as well as for-profit organizations and companies. We really want there to be clearly identified roles, responsibilities, and contributions of each collaborator or partner defined. Projects are encouraged to promote inclusion in their leadership collaborations and other project activities. We also want to know how relevant stakeholders from across disciplines and sectors, such as academia, industry, government, nonprofit, for-profit, and community organizations, will be fully integrated in project activities. We really want to see authentic engagement, that's why it's underlined, with individuals and communities that can be most impacted by these relevant technologies. Teams should include individuals with experience and expertise in topics and areas broadly associated with our ReDDoT principles. And there are no limits on how many proposals that a PI can be on. With any NSF proposal, we evaluate proposals that come in based on the following 2 criteria: on intellectual merit, about how what the proposed research has the potential to advance the knowledge of the field, as well as the broader impacts criterion. And that really demonstrates the potential to benefit society and contribute to the specific desired societal outcomes that are evident through ReDDoT. Also within ReDDoT, we have additional review criteria that are to all types of proposals. These additional review criteria are in addition to the standard merit review on intellectual merit and broader impact. And these solicitation-specific criteria will be, again, applied to all ReDDoT proposals. So we want to ask the following 3 questions. Is it evident that the project is addressing potential areas of need with respect to advancing strategies for ReDDoT principles? Does the proposal include mechanisms to share project results broadly across relevant disciplines and sectors? And finally, are the composition and expertise of the project team and the plans to integrate relevant stakeholders appropriate to meet the project goals in enabling or demonstrating responsible design, development, and deployment of technology? So again, those ReDDoT principles. So there are required components for a proposal. These include, but again, are not limited to, a project summary, a project description that has a maximum of 15 pages, references, a data management plan, a postdoctoral mentoring plan if it's applicable, a collaboration plan that is required for phase 2 proposals, a current and pending support form, collaborators and other affiliations information, biographical sketch, and the budget and budget justification. And again, this is includes, but not necessarily limited to. And as always, please review the PAPG, the Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures Guide that is available on our website. And again, this webinar is recorded and these slides will be made available, so you will have access to these links. So for ReDDoT, we are hosting 2 office hour sessions that are at this time next Friday and the following Friday, February 16th and February 23rd. We are limiting both these office hour sessions to 60 people. So we ask that only 1 person per research group attend. The goal for these office hours is to make connections amongst each other, not just, and talk with the program directors as necessary. The breakouts will be led by Vishal Sharma, who comes from SIZE on the Artificial Intelligence Group. Clifford Wheel, who is in the Biosciences Directorate, will be hosting on biotechnology. And I will be leading this breakout on natural and anthropogenic disaster prevention or mitigation. And you can find all of that information at our website. Again, these office hours are for you to try to make connections with other people potentially in different sectors. So if you already have your team identified, if you already know what you plan to submit, these office hours are not for you. You can always email us, and I'll show the email information at the end at reddot@nsf.gov. And that way I can get it to a person within our team that can address your question. I ask that if you do want to meet with us, that you do send a 1-pager in so that the appropriate program director can meet with you. Okay, if you've listened to all of this today and you decided, maybe ReDDoT's not for me, I would encourage you to sign up to be a reviewer or a panelist. You can fill out our reviewer or panelist survey that's also available on our website. And again, this webinar is recorded and the slides will be available. The panels are going to be primarily held during the first week of June 3rd through 7th, but we also ask that you report your availability during the 1st and 2nd weeks of June. So again, there's more information on our website. I might be the person who is talking today, but I certainly didn't get here alone. This has been a huge collaboration amongst TIP, STEM Education, the Geosciences Directorate, Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences, Computer and Information Science and Engineering, as well as the Biosciences. And so I'm just really grateful to be a part of this team, to learn from all of them so much. I'm just incredibly thankful and have lots of gratitude for the team at large. Lastly, you can find more information on the website. And if you do have any additional questions, I see there's a lot happening in the Q&A. You can always reach us at reddot@nsf.gov. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, I think. Chiton, I see still tons of questions. So what can I do?
Tons of questions. I've been furiously typing some answers, and also have the others. Actually, if Hamad is around, is there a way to capture all of this, Hamad?
Yeah, we can capture all the question and answers.
Okay, then the thing to do is we will capture all of them, because there's also a question about will the answers be posted, and we can answer all the questions post facto and post them on the website. So go to the NSF ReDDoT website.
Okay.
Best way to check, Google that is type NSF responsible tech, because if you type NSF ReDDoT, you'll get mostly Reddit.
Yes.
We are not Reddit, we are ReDDoT.
That's interesting. Responsible tech, NSF responsible tech. Okay, good to know.
That takes you straight to our site.
Okay. Has there been any recurring questions that I should answer live? It looks like we've got good.
There have been a few questions about the international, so you might want to say something about it.
Okay. Okay. Here, let me stop sharing. So, international groups cannot be a PI on a specific proposal. They can, however, be a subawardee under a US-based PI. Does that answer the question, Chaitan?
I mean, I'm thinking in terms of, you might want to say about, I mean, I think the real issue is we really look for what is the unique value proposition that
Yes.
that part of it.
Yes. Yeah. So just to reiterate what Chaitan was talking about, there does have to be a good substantive reason why a US-based partner just wouldn't work for that you need to reach out internationally and have that expertise from someone who is based internationally.
Yeah, so it's not, just because you have a buddy somewhere and you want to work with them, or you've been working with them for a while, therefore it justifies, that doesn't really cut it for us. And it's a general NSF thing, not just for this program, but we want to say, okay, is there something really valuable that this person is bringing that nobody in the US is providing, that aspect or that angle or technology or whatever it is? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, there's been a number of questions about national labs and whether they can submit. I don't know if you want to go over that.
Yes. So my assumption here would be that national labs are also part of the federal government. And so federal government employees cannot be a PI or co-PI on the proposal. They can, however, be partners. They typically need a letter of support from one of their supervisors that demonstrates that they are allowed to be working on this project, because federal government employees will typically donate their time to be a part of a project. So that needs to be a part of their own personal research or what they're doing for their lab. Does that help answer the question, Nick?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
Couple of other questions, and one of you might, because I can't remember what we said in the solicitation, but it's about PIs being on more than one. Can you be a PI for more than one proposal, whether it's in phase 1 itself or phase 1 and phase 2?
There are no limits to how many proposals a PI can be on as written in the program solicitation. So I hope that helps.
Yes.
There were questions about whether planning grants need to be only 8 pages or whether they can be 15 pages.
Yes. So if you go into the research.gov system and you select the planning grant type of proposals, it would only allow you 8 pages. And so that's why we have decided if you are still submitting for a planning grant proposal, that you select the research type. So that will allow you up to a maximum of 15 pages of project description. So again, if you plan to submit a planning grant, please select the research type proposal so that you can have up to 15 pages of project description. Does that help, Cliff?
I
hope.
It helps me. You have to ask the people who ask the question.
Okay. What else are we seeing? This is a lot of questions. This is great. I'm glad that there's so much interest. I would also say that, as Chaitan said, we will capture these questions, and the things that are really standing out quite a bit, we'll make sure that we capture in a frequently asked questions or FAQs part of the website.
There were a few questions asking about concrete examples about the kind of project. And I think the way I would responded to it is, To be frank, this is a very complex area, involves so many different disciplines and so many different issues. It is also the very first time that NSF is issuing the solicitation. It's quite, I mean, it's actually the standard thing that does happen, whether it's this program or any other program at NSF, is to a great extent, the proposals that come in actually define what the program is about, because we're always looking for what are the best proposals. So having said that, I would say I'm sure we're going to get a lot of proposals that are what are in the sweet spot. And if you ask me what's the sweet spot, I couldn't tell you, right? But it's like one of those things where when you look at it, you know what it is, but you can't define it. So if you're not very sure, you have two options. Either you wait for next year to see, what all we have funded this year and see if it matches. Or of course, you can always submit it and take the chance.
What else have you all seen?
Lots.
I know, I see like the Q&As is 99 plus, and I'm like, whoa, okay.
Okay. So there's one, they're generally asking about what the team should look like, who the submitting institution should be, and so on. So a few questions came in about whether the funds are coming from the foundations or from NSF. So I clarified that all awards will be made by NSF. So
Yeah.
if you're so you need to be sure that your institution can accept NSF funds. In the TIP directorate, especially since we are reaching out to very new players who have never been to NSF before, we have observed that it's a long process to get qualified to receive money from NSF. You have to go through a certification process. That can usually take a couple of months. So if you're in one of those organizations, you need to start very, very soon to make sure that your organization is ready to receive those funds. But the funds will come from NSF. And then, Daniel, you want to say something about, they're asking about the composition of the team. Should a university lead it, or should a private nonprofit lead it, and these kind of questions?
Yeah, I think that's up to the proposing group of who should go for it. As Chiton mentioned, if an academic organization, if that's, eligible to receive NSF funds and you already have that set up, that might be the easiest direction to go. But truly any one of those different types of organizations, whether you're nonprofit, for-profit, local or tribal government, state government, that sort of thing, it just, there's no real cap on that or who should be the submitting organization. But I would say among the project team, just make sure that you are eligible to receive NSF funds, and whatever direction is easiest to be able to receive that funding. Chiton, what do you think? You have anything to add?
No, I think that's it. That I also answered some of those in the same way, that it really a proposal, the project that you're proposing should define it. I think when you put together a serious project proposal, it'll become quite obvious who should lead it, and who's on the front, and what all expertise you need, and so on. There's rarely you'll have a situation where it's a 50-50, either one could be a PI. Well, then I suggest you toss a coin and pick somebody, right? But that's not so common.
Mm-hmm. Any other common questions that were posed?
I would say one was there's several people wanting to propose things that are not quite in the 3 priority areas. For some reason, VR, AR has come up several times, virtual reality. And there was a question whether those kind of things would be relevant only in terms of the priority areas. And I basically said yes.
Yeah.
Or some of them could be in the workshop. So you might want to just clarify that.
Correct. Yeah. So for the workshops, they can cover any one of the 10 technology areas. I believe VR is in the advanced communications technology area. So workshops can be any one of those 10 key technology areas, or any one of the 5 key national, societal, and geostrategic challenge areas. But for the other types of proposals, yes, they need to be focused on the 3 key technology areas that we identified through ReDDDoT, which are artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and natural or anthropogenic disaster prevention or mitigation.
Here's a very specific one.
Okay.
Are technology fellowships that place individuals into congressional offices able to apply to this fund?
Ooh, Titan,
And
do you?
I mean, this is not, we are not looking at providing fellowships, right? So none of
I was gonna say, I don't really feel
proposal
like.
that's just fellowships would not fit the definition of any of the 4 categories that we have, 3 in phase 1 and phase 2. It's a different matter that as part of a project that you're doing, you might have an opportunity to send somebody somewhere, wherever it is. So that would just become part of your proposal.
Wow, that is highly specific. That's an interesting question. My goodness, I'll have to look in the Q&A.
Danielle, here's an interesting one.
Okay,
That
thanks.
might be good for you to answer.
Okay.
So are the private foundations involved in reviewing the proposals?
Titan, you'll have to
Yeah,
jog my memory here.
yes, and I think that's all we can say.
Yeah. Okay.
Because usually the details of the proposal, proposal review happens in the typical NSF way. There will be panels for each of these things, and panels will have external reviewers, and they will make the recommendations. But NSF makes the final decision. So I suppose in this case, we can say that the final decision would be made by NSF and the foundations, because the foundations are our partners here. They're kind of just like NSF in this case.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Nick. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I am very glad that these questions will be saved.
I mean, I think actually it's probably fair to say that, I mean, one of the reasons that's a good question is, foundations are our partners in this, and they are new for us. This partnership is new. And so just as you might want to talk to us, one of us individually, you should also feel free to talk to somebody at a foundation that you might know. Because, problems can come from multiple, the scope of a problem can come from multiple places. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Danielle,
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, sir. There's a lot here. This is
There's so much.
This is far more than I've ever been in part of. One question, you noted earlier that if you didn't think this was for you, you could sign up to be a reviewer, but there've been a couple of questions whether you could be a reviewer and a proposer. So theoretically, could you review something if it was on a different panel as what you sent in?
Potentially, yes. Potentially. We would really have to figure that out. Yeah, I guess for some reason, if you applied to disasters but you had some sort of AI background, you could potentially serve on the AI panel. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, that's what we're thinking about right now, is that we'll set up a panel for the disasters, we'll set up a panel for the biotechnology, and we'll set up a panel for AI. just because of those different types of experiences. There might be more depending on what we've got. I don't know, Chiton, do you want to chime in at all?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I want to say that, like Daniel says, it sort of all depends. But to be frank, these actually a rule like that has to be approved internally by NSF policy. We can make the request, but there are other people at NSF who decide if this can create all sorts of conflicts of interest and so on. So I think you might be safe to start with the notion that you're either one or the other. You're either a submitter or you're a reviewer. But at this stage, we don't know.
Right.
I mean, we really don't know because we have about 500 people on the call. We had about 1,000 people who registered. Somebody, by the way, posted that all the office hours. Oh, this is a good one, Daniel, for you
Okay.
for you and the team.
Okay.
Someone posted that all the office hours are taken, the slots are gone. So the question was, are we going to offer more office hours because people want to have office hours?
And
And
we'll certainly discuss that.
Are they both full?
They're both
That's
full.
what the person implied. He said the slots are full. So I thought what I would do, I think we can say here that the best, in a way, the only way you can find out is you have to come to the website. Unfortunately, so maybe shall we give them how long? A week or 2 weeks before we decide to come back?
Wow.
And
I mean, it's just incredible. The outpouring that has come from this solicitation. I will discuss that amongst the other program directors who are leading breakout sessions, and that will be a subject for further discussion for sure.
Yeah, but meanwhile, in one of the answers, like I had posted, you can always send questions to ReDDDoT@nsf.gov.
Yeah.
And so reach out that way. Make sure that your questions are very precise, because we get these very vague questions like, I have this idea about, saving the world, and is that a good proposal? Saving the world is a good proposal, right? So
Yeah. I did see one that said, can we send a one-page summary to get feedback? Please send a one-page summary if you would like to receive feedback, because like what Chiton was saying, sometimes we get these very vague asks, and that one-page summary helps us to really look at what you're thinking about doing, what you're thinking of proposing. And that way we can get the information to one of the program directors who is a subject matter expert in that particular area as well, to be able to review it and provide their input. So that one pager is key. And Jason, thank you for putting it in the chat. It's ReDDoT with 3 Ds at nsf.gov.
Here's a question that you might be worth answering, which is somebody asked, can it just be a social science project? And I think the answer is yes. So please don't think that these only have to be technological solutions, even if you're addressing, let's say, AI. We're not saying it has to be AI technology. I mean, it could be something you're really looking at the responsible aspects of AI. And that may lead you to a completely social science-based project, which would be just fine. This is why our social science colleagues are here.
Yes. Yes. In fact, 2 social science colleagues. So really grateful for them both. So yes.
Danielle, a couple of people have asked about recording office hours. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, we are likely to not record office hours, mainly because there's a different role to play with office hours there. So this webinar has been general information about ReDDoT, whereas the office hours, the specific goal and purpose of those office hours is to really make connections, again, not with program directors, but rather with other people in the community. So it's sort of making those connections to be able to put together a proposal together and find these multi-sector collaborations with just program directors facilitating those conversations. And so since there's a different role to play with that, they will not be recorded.
Makes sense.
Okay, two quick ones.
Okay.
One is, can you help us understand how you chose the priority areas? Social problems caused by tech are in every headline. So basically, it seems to imply that, you didn't talk about social problems. And I think we should be clear that, well, two things, that priority areas were selected based on the technology areas that the TIP directorate is expected to address from the CHIPS and Science Act. There are 10 technology areas, and as a group, we picked, given the amount of funds we have and so on and so forth, we picked 3 so that at least there's some focus. These 3 may change if there's ever a next solicitation. We can't say anything about future. So that's how we picked them, and we decided here that AI, biotech, and hazards are 3 very important areas compared to like the others. We have to make a choice. Now to the question of, this person is asking about fraud online, misinformation, societal issues. Well, in a sense, those are all in scope. I mean, that's what we are talking about in terms of the responsibility aspect. So there's some technology that you created might have caused all those headaches, like you said in your question. And your proposal is trying to address that headache, and that would be, yes, within scope. All we are saying is, at least for the main proposals, other than the workshops, if you said, well, there's a headache due to quantum computing and I want to write a phase 2 proposal, that's not in scope right now because we picked the 3, which doesn't include things like, say, quantum or other things.
Mm-hmm.
But you could do workshops on that.
Yeah, I also see limitations to a topic's breadth, like the disaster and anthropogenic disasters. Like ballistics or other things, as long as it's responsible design, development, and deployment. That's really the key here. Again, going back to what Chaitan said, it's not necessarily the technologies or these different things. It really goes back to the responsible design, development, and deployment of technologies. So if there's responsible ethics, societal concerns that are being addressed through your proposal, then the sky's the limit in these sorts of things. And I see that we've got 2 minutes left. Is there any last?
There's another one. Actually, this is something we had considered, right? Asking about how can we form collaborations from this crowd of people who are here. And I don't think we are necessarily sharing any of that information, right?
No,
are
none
not.
of the information will be shared from this webinar today regarding people. That's sort of the purpose again for the office hours. And I will talk with Cliff and Vishal to see how many people we think we can really, again, because we're facilitating these breakouts, there's a limit to how many people we can bring into that group. And again, if you already have a collaboration with you and one other person, make sure that only one of you attends those office hours and can report back for the group, because that will help us keep the numbers small and yet still facilitate those collaborations.
There's a general thread of questions about international participants. And so
Yeah, I think we addressed that a little bit ago about how, yes, the PIs and the co-PIs need to be US based, and then you really have to demonstrate subawards for international participants can be a part of the proposal. It's just that there needs to be a substantive reason why there was not a US based person who could not fill that role. So the bar is pretty high for that.
they were just still coming up. So that's why I wanted to.
Okay, no, that's great. And I think that we're at time. I want to thank Heidi for her interpretation today. I want to thank my fellow PDs for their help with all of this Q&A. And I want to thank all of you for your attention. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Heidi.